how do you like put value on yourself? Right, because are you like you're putting value obviously in Java with Jimmy, but like for somebody to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I have $10,000 for you." Mm-hmm. Before that, did you find yourself to be valuable enough to do that? Like, did they push you into that direction, or did you think to yourself, "Yeah, I think I'm worth a budget that's around this"?
I feel like when I've reached a certain pinnacle of like success, I tend to self-sabotage a little bit.
The mission of Java with Jimmy is to share information and resources and make people aware for the purpose of mobilizing them toward action to improve their quality of life.
And still I feel no pressure. Surrounded by dogs, giving you game, we giving you lecture. Say thank you to God, we got another day to be better. And if it get hard, just need another day with the fellas. We bout to give you that work. Say your name in like it's church. We finna give you that work. Just like Serena, we serve. You want the truth by your shirt. My phone get fly like birds. But we all lost boys, no search.
Welcome to another episode of the Nun the Wizer Podcast. I am here with my brothers. I got my guy Trip over here in the building.
Hey, what's going on?
Show my man some love. I got the dog on the ones and twos, holding down the audio, my guy Podcast Poe. And we got a special guest. I guess I could call you my mentor. We've been working long enough for me to call you my mentor. Yeah. I don't know if you like that term, but we got the infamous, the not infamous. We got the famous Java with Jimmy in the building. James Jimmy Hill, show that man some love. The Java with Jimmy show, doing big things. I started with this man when he was kind of big. Now he's
Higher than that?
He went super high. How's it going, man? How's it going, my guy?
It's going good. Y'all got me out on a Sunday on my rest day, but I'm here.
You don't have a real rest day.
Nah.
No, that's what we can get into that later, but I'm trying to. Especially the end of this year, I'm definitely trying to. Y'all took it serious real quick.
The end of this year is like 7 days. 10 days.
If I told y'all what my original plan was when the team asked me in November, y'all would laugh.
Well, let's laugh. I want to know.
I joked and I said 11-19 to 119.
Like off?
Yeah. Well, off except the show.
You go
except the show. I didn't want to
Monday through Thursday.
I don't even believe that you could actually for 2 months not go without working. Like I don't think you have it in you.
So crazy.
If finances didn't go the way they did and whatnot, I would have did nothing but the show from November to after Martin Luther King Day. November 19th, I think, was the week before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving week. Yeah. And then I'm like Christmas, the holidays.
Right.
We can pull MLK into that if we want as far as the holidays as well. And so that was my original plan. But, yeah, rent has to be paid.
No, I'm not mad at that. I really don't think you could survive 2 months without working. From my experience with you, you're like a workaholic, so yeah. I know.
That would have
been tough.
Somebody
would have dragged you in to something.
He would have dragged you. He would have been like,
what am I doing?
Nobody would have. Nobody's ever called me a workaholic. But it because of the community piece of this, that I think a lot of time is the pull. But I met with the team last week, and they were basically like, yeah, no. Literally, you got to be comfortable with saying no, and you want to serve people and whatnot. But at the end of the day, that's taking away time. And then they went down a little list of things that I owe them.
So I was like, I know you work with the Davis system. That's your team.
Absolutely.
How long have you been working with them now?
If you go by payment, that first payment I think was April 15th. They started May. So since like April, May.
Okay, so. Yeah. I've worked with you before. You had a tight team. Yes, and, we had our moments where things could get a little hectic. How much easier is it now with a team? Like, how much workload is off your back? Because I know you get a little, uncomfortable when stuff doesn't go exactly as planned.
That was a nice way to put it.
Yeah. That was the word we were looking for earlier.
Walk was, well, on the way here, I was thinking about the last time I was supposed to technically see Dell. But so I'm not going to be able to stick to your name. I'm going to do my best, Trip.
That's okay.
But okay.
It's okay.
So
this is my Davis uncle, by the way. That's why it's hard.
He kind of, we joke about the fact that he gets some of his good looks from me, the long eyelashes and all that other stuff. He features But anyway, in all seriousness, the Davis system came on about April or May. And when I tell you the branding, organizing, my calendar, and it's weird because, you allude to this different level of things, whatever, being more busy. That's how I'll frame it. Mm-hmm. And they came on right when things were starting to peak. We had the waterfront thing going on that you didn't make it to.
Yeah, I tried to make it to, but I could not find. It was like 2 people outside. And I drove around it like twice. He swears to God I didn't come there. I wish I recorded myself coming.
Just go spinning the block?
Bro, I spent the block like twice. I did not see it.
We were at Moakley Park. We had the beach, the park, and whatnot. We had the whole thing. Like, shoot.
I don't either.
It's over in South Boston.
I used my GPS. I used the address. I'm like, there ain't nobody here. Yeah. So either they ain't showing no love or I'm in the wrong place.
The museum, isn't that where you do the waterfront thing too?
ICA was the year before, which was, we'll go into that in a minute.
Dope. But that was dope. That's
a whole nother thing. So anyway, y'all getting me off. It's weird being on this side of the desk. I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
You gotta get comfortable. You ain't answer the questions.
We are.
I know at some point I'm gonna turn as red as whatever red. But no, since they came on at the time of getting ready for the Waterfront Coalition. I don't know if you remember me making this statement, but June was the busiest month of my life. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I now, even thinking about it, have anxiety, like thinking, what June is going to look like, because I believe we're going to do the cookout again. Mm-hmm. It's the end of the year. We had the Healthy 617 thing wrapped up.
Yeah, that was good.
So I literally probably only had like 3 or 4 days in June where I wasn't doing anything. And a couple of those was like, my body was like, yeah, you need to stay.
You got to chill out, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question for you, right?
But to the Davis system, they've helped a lot. They've come in and killed it. And we met Tuesday, and they went through content, themes, and whatnot through June. And then they went through the whole year. I needed to have 4 revenue points every month. They are really, and they're actually going to get me for this, because I did a live the other night. And Anthony was going to come on, and he was like, I wasn't coming on because you're going to start talking about us. This, is about you. But they've been really the force behind the scenes in these past, 6 months?
Yep.
And so I got to give them credit. They're a Black-owned business. Yep. They're a young couple. They just celebrated 2-year anniversary. And, in entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurship, 2 years is that marker, whether you're going to make it or not. Yep. They made it. You know what I mean? And so I want to give them their flowers. And they've been a force. And I'm almost nervous about what things are going to look like next year. I mean, we're not even at full capacity. You know what I mean? They handle the calendar, the branding, and the marketing. We don't have a production person. And that's, GBH is like, yeah, Jimmy, you need to get what you have here on your regular show. So.
Right.
Remember when we first met? What did I say to you about your initial production?
Wait a minute, what? There's 2 things. Well, never mind. The initial production. What did you say?
The COVID joint.
Yeah.
Oh,
the one where you called me.
That was our initial introduction. I was like,
the COVID production. What?
I was like, it's giving COVID. It look.
Oh, you talking about on the screen, the Zoom,
the green screen.
It was looking like we're still in COVID.
Oh, shut up.
You gotta
yeah.
You've come a long way.
Even with. I think moving forced me to put the green screen down, but I missed some of the benefits of the green screen and just do different graphics and whatnot. But, Anthony from the Davis system, when he introduced me at the ICA, he said from the iPhone to the ICA. You know what I'm saying?
Which is a big deal.
We're getting ready.
That. Bars.
Yeah, shut up. I did used to spit. I got one little thing I still got in my head from back in the day, but I got a couple of bars.
Go ahead, y'all go ahead and have a little freestyle real quick.
Not me.
Y'all both of y'all.
Same freestyle.
Yeah. He's like, ain't nothing free these days.
Yeah, this is all written. This is all written.
I don't spit. Y'all know I can't spit. I can do a little poetry, but I can't spit.
So, Trip, you had a question?
I actually had a question, though.
Yes.
At what point did you realize that you needed more of a team? Such as what is it, Davis?
The Davis system.
The Davis system.
So I have to give homage to a young lady in North Carolina by the name of Tay Clark, and locally here in Boston, out in Somerville, Rachel Clinton.
Shout out Rach.
Yeah. Tay, I went to Fiverr one day, and maybe I met somebody that was supporting me, and the way they supported me was supposed to be for a short period of time. And then I sidebarred them and was like, yo, this is what I need help with. And that's how Tay came on board. And she started off just handling my schedule. Mm-hmm. And then Rachel actually came on as kind of a production person because there's so much political part of the platform. She's from Boston. I'm going to take these off so they're not making noise because I know that's probably driving Vonnie crazy.
It's not the best.
He said it's not the best. She came on to sort of be that liaison. She pitches ideas and whatnot. Even still till this day, like if there's a typo, if she has an idea, they will like inbox and text the team and whatnot. Like, so I have to give them a shout out. But it was in December of 20. Our cousin Conchetta saw what was going on and got me on the phone, made me do a brain dump, sat on the phone with me and made me go to some website to do my first mugs. I think we did hoodies. I didn't want merch. We started in March. I didn't have a first piece of merch that was orderable until December. Everybody was like, you need to do mugs and coffee.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's when we start talking about that money.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't money. No, it's the thing of Mama Java, shout out to her.
Hey, Nana.
Y'all say Nana, that's my mother. But I've been random places and have seen people in the brand, and there's still parts of me that a part of this is still in my stomach literally right now in real time. Right. There's still parts of this thing that is weird. No. I was either going to be a politician, a pastor,
we're going to get into all of that too.
Right. Yeah. So you're messing with a host. So, but I also know what it is as a host when your guests get ahead and then you're like, "Dag, I was just about to." So I'll try to keep it.
No, it's okay.
minimal.
It's okay.
All right, so let's just spin it back again. And what was the humble beginnings like before Java with Jimmy? Like, give me like a 2-year marker before. Obviously, COVID happened. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what jolted this. But what did life look like to you? Did you see this like conversion happening before COVID?
No. So I was a event planner at a national organization that was contracted with the Department of Labor. It was my third stint in the federal government, and I traveled across the country doing event planning.
Okay.
Helping with sound and stage, putting together agendas, events from soup to nuts, the whole thing. And this started in 20, so 18. And so I was at that program. We parted ways. That's why I'm not going to give them no props and name them. We parted ways because there was a difference of philosophy, and they tried to point to some work and whatnot. And I'll be real about that. We were overtaxed. We were really overtaxed, and we were working with the federal government, and it was interesting. And so I was
overtaxed or taxed.
Overtaxed meaning that we were overworked.
Like overworked.
Not that taxed.
Like taxing.
No, that's right.
Not the job, but overtaxed, like overworked.
Yep.
Expectations of some detailed Brady Act that just, anyway, not to get too much into that, but that's what I was doing. And in November of 2019, a couple of months before COVID,
right,
I took a break off from work, and I'm public about this on my platform. You know, I had to have some dental work. My smile was purchased. And so I took 3 weeks off, and I went back on November 12th, the day after Veterans Day. I'm like, I'm going to pack on that holiday to get a couple extra days. And I guess they thought I was interviewing. And at 4 o'clock, I remember doing something on my email, and it just wouldn't work. And I thought it was a regular systems down. Speed things up. Somebody from HR came up and was like, well, did you get another job or whatever? I was like, no. And immediately I knew what was going on. I was like, I'm not resigning. And they was like, well, today's your last day. I was like, well, where's my unemployment? Remember that. Where's my unemployment? Right. That was November of 19.
Right.
I'll just say that in April of 20.
And how long were you at this position before this happened?
I started in July of 17 and I left in November of 19.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
about 2.5 years. Yep. And it allowed me to travel the country. And I mean, Atlanta, San Francisco, Chicago. I mean, we went all over the country. I was trying to, suggest that one of them conferences be somewhere in Hawaii or something, but no, Hawaii, Dallas. Like we went everywhere.
Okay.
Not your favorite Miami?
We didn't go to Miami for work. No, not for work. No, that would have been a setup.
So between November and when did you start your first episode of Java?
March 24th.
All right, so March 24th. Between November and March, what was the plan? Like before you decided I'm gonna pick up this phone and record? Like you just lost your job. I'm assuming you didn't really have a fallback because you didn't see that happening. So it's like, what?
Yeah, like
what
how do you get to Java with? I call it Hava with Hemi.
That's almost as funny as yesterday in the parade. Shout out to 98.1. They was like, Jimmy Java. That is the number one thing, Jimmy Java. I'm like, okay. You call it Hava with Hemi?
Yeah, just a little funny twist on it.
Mad Hispanic.
Yeah, like how does that even come to fruition? Like,
I'll give you a little bit and not try to get too far ahead. I'll just say that what made Java with Jimmy significant was everything that was done before, and the relevance, the credibility.
Yeah.
And so in November, I told my boy, Darren Howell, I was like, Darren. This went down. Yeah, this went down. And he was like, well, I don't know why I did his voice. I tried not to do his voice. He was in the process of looking for somebody to help because he was going to incorporate his organization. I don't know if you all know, the Drive Boston toy drive was the number one toy drive in Boston for about 15 years or so. And he was like, come on and take on, be my interim executive director. I was like, wait, I'm going from an event planner with an organization that aggravated me to being an interim executive director. And I knew Darren since he was a kid.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. And because I was, I was on unemployment. And so that sort of volunteer position as the interim executive director, that lasted until the spring. But in the midst of that, from November until March, COVID hit.
Right.
And then somewhere in the spring, who was it? Trump at that time was like, hey, we need to give these people an extra
$600. Who's getting that bread?
True. Stimulus checks?
I ain't going.
Well, I didn't get it because I was still working.
Nah, I was getting it too.
Yeah. What a time.
I was still at the house.
So y'all think about it. The thing happened with the job. I wouldn't necessarily say lost the job. It was just I knew that something was going to go down. I just didn't know it was going to go down that day. And I was like, I wasn't actively looking, but I was like, if I hear about something. The surprising thing I'll say is as much as it appears that I'm connected, when I put some feelers out initially, the response that I thought I would get was not what I thought I was going to get. And so to answer the question even more concretely, I said I'm going to also consult, do some consulting. So it was consulting, and that was sort of the approach with Drive Boston in that volunteer space. But I was always consulting with folks. I just didn't call it consulting.
But it was always something where you seen yourself kind of working for yourself.
Doing your own thing, building your own brand.
Like from that time.
Well, from November. Yeah. I did sort of make the conscious decision, but I didn't know what that was.
Right. Right.
Because I was on unemployment, I wasn't stressing it, and I didn't know COVID was going to hit. And so, man, listen, when I first got approved for unemployment, there's an Excel sheet that I have that, when I tell y'all I was down to the bare minimum and I was going to make it work, so yeah, yeah.
How does politics shape, where you are now?
Oh God, that was a good question. I have to start it by saying the politics shape where I am now through my initial introduction into real politics through the late, great, longest serving mayor of the city of Boston, Thomas M. Menino. That was my entrance into politics. Serving people, the community at 5 o'clock. Then after 5 o'clock, it was the rigor of what we call Boston Poly, hashtag BOSPOLI. And that was my entrance. How it shaped me. Well, let me not lie. My first time in federal government was at a stay-in-school program at Department of Transportation in Cambridge. I did federal government before I went for the mayor at Department of Health and Human Services, the JFK building. And then I went and worked for the city. Okay. And then I, at one point, was an advisor to Governor Patrick for anti-crime council. Okay. And so let me back that up. But the real getting into it was with Mayor Menino. At the federal government, I reported essentially to the president of the city. When I was at the federal government, I'm 6-7 steps away from, that high position.
So you're just a part of a bureaucracy, pretty much. You're not.
When I was in the feds, and to be honest, in the city too. But how it shaped where I am now is it allowed me a lens to what maybe 2 years in the job with Jimmy made me realize. I spent some time, remember, working at the hospital, in medicine, spent some time in government, and I'm from the community.
I'm thinking of all the times we've been in the hospital with my mom. You're like, I worked in this field. I know.
I'll say one thing. After everything goes down, the doctors will come to me, and after, they're lucky to have you. Yeah. I'll clear out a nursing station in a minute. As soon as I walk through the door, the nurses are like, but I realized that working in government, being from community, and in that time of medicine made me apt to be able to talk about COVID and whatnot.
So was there like a plan, or you just was like, let me just pick this phone up and get online?
No, I remember there was a little bit of conversation about Governor Baker closing other stuff, leaving liquor stores open. I remember seeing a debate going on about that. So before Java with Jimmy, I had a presence in the community. You all see the refined Java with Jimmy now.
Actually, before you even start on that, I want to kind of correlate your social presence to the Java with Jimmy. Like, how does your social presence? I remember you, as you said, it's a refined version of you now, but you used to go live, airing out all your grievances with everything that's going on between the state, the city, violence and stuff like that.
So it's funny you say social, and that makes me think of more like party type thing. The social impact sort of space. I had a following. I had a presence there, and so that correlates to your question, to Walk's question. I had somewhat of a following. I was known for cussing people out either through writ or through going live. And so I did have a presence. I think I had exhausted my followers even before Java with Jimmy, which to me was like, not followers, friends on Facebook. And I was like, that's interesting. And so there was, going back to the point of credibility and doing the work that made Java with Jimmy, is making Java with Jimmy successful, or impactful rather.
Impactful, right.
Impactful over successful. To get back to your point, I knew what was going to happen in our community. I just, from being in the nonprofit world, from serving youth service and in the hospital somewhat. I worked in Children's Hospital for a while and saw our young people go through stuff. And I literally had just made a cup of coffee. And it's weird because I haven't talked about it in a while. I walked into the living room. Remember how the old spot is set up? I walked into the little hallway into the living room, and I had an office. I was setting up to be an entrepreneur. Had a space, whiteboard and whatnot. I was really doing it. And I just sat my phone in front of the laptop, and I had my cup of coffee, and I went live. And I said, and it y'all messed me up, because it every like third or fourth interview or something talking about it, I'm good. And then this is probably the fourth interview where I'm like, the emotion of it is hitting me. I went live, and 50 people came into the room, and I was like, again, I had the following.
That first 50 is like,
and so I was
that
like,
dopamine hit.
I have had them nights I went off and cussing people out. I've had some people in the room, but they're more drawn to the shock jock.
Right.
I think people were home, and I had the presence and what I was talking about. I don't remember exactly how I started it, but I had on a do-rag, some sort of like how, t-shirt they wear around
chilling
the house.
In the crib, right?
Yeah, we were all hurting back then. It was a bad time for us.
But it was the real. We were about 3 weeks into it, and we didn't know what was
coming, right?
Yeah,
right.
And so to me, that was one day. I was going live for one day to say, hey, this is what we need to look at, and just think about it, whatever. And Nana, at the very end, said, will this be an everyday coffee hour? I looked at the screen and
shout
I was
out to
like,
Nana though.
Right, okay, Nana. She's so she came up with the name technically a little bit.
No,
with the idea.
I mean, she said everyday coffee hour, and it's funny because I didn't kind of realize some of this, I think, until the first year after, and I went back and kind of looked at the comments of the first show and all that. I always remember, because I went on the next day. The reason I was there the next day is because of what she asked.
Right.
And so about 3 weeks into it, I always went live and I would have the cup of coffee, and I was like, okay, Java. Jimmy was the base, and it was like, okay, Jimmy, Java, coffee. Java with Jimmy.
Yeah, right.
And so I was like, I went, I did a little bit of Photoshop and whatnot. So I went, I think at that time I had an old Bitmoji. I went and like figured out a way how to screenshot that and crop it, and made a little logo and came up with hashtag Java with Jimmy. And so on March 24th, that's when it started, on an iPhone, just trying to help the community.
That's fire. Like
That's dope.
I like that.
It's just crazy because, like, even just thinking about what we do here and how this just kind of came out of a thought process from you. I know you haven't got a lot of camera time, but
Oh no, I'm good.
like, I got to work with you early on, and I know we all run into those difficulties. Was there any moment within the early time where you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna probably pivot? Like, was there ever a pivot space for you, or did you just know?
Or a lack of like belief.
Yeah, like, did you ever like just be like, yeah, I'm not feeling it?
And do you
I
still
would
feel that
say-
way now?
Okay, so a few things. I would say that physically, not in the first year. For some reason, in thinking about it in real time right now, so after that first year, I intentionally was taking a break.
Right.
I was like, I've done this for a year. Like, we did the first year anniversary thing with the documentary and whatnot, and then I'm like, I'm taking 2 or 3 days off. And that was in March. Whatever happened through, I think we broke up on like May 25th or something. And within like a week or two, I went back on and I balanced myself. Went back on, I think at that point it was Monday through Friday. I stopped Saturday and Sunday. The first year, I did this every single solitary day. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, depending on what was going on with COVID.
Right.
And then Trump and Cuomo, they were comedians to me. It was a serious subject, but if you're in politics and you see the mannerisms of Trump and he does something that you really expect him to do, I saw the aesthetics of comedy in that because of my, political experience. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much because, I don't get the chance to talk too much. So I appreciate this.
You're the guest.
Therapeutic.
We need you to talk.
When you say balance, you mean work life and social life, or personal?
Balance as far as...
You said you had to balance yourself after the breakup.
Oh, yeah. It was the balance of... Because you all know this. Our show, if done right, is like 5-6 hours work.
Amen to that.
I was getting ready to go to Patreon and whatnot, and I was like, exclusive this and whatnot. And again, Conchetta was like, nope, because you putting something behind a wall, they're going to want a different aesthetic. That means you're creating public work and you're creating the private. And so in the midst of that, I was like, you know what? Let me just go to, I think I went back maybe to 3 days a week at first or whatever. And then ICA happened in 22, 23. So no, over the summer and whatnot, I just picked back up and started doing it like 4 days a week. But the social balance for staying 4 days a week, the social or the work-life balance is for mental health. It is for self-care, because it also, a lot of the nature of what I discuss is heavy. When we talk about trauma, during COVID, I don't know if y'all remember, I would get phone calls on them crazy nights, or when someone well-known on the street was killed and like 100 people were in the house and they didn't know what they were going to do with them or whatever. Right. I would get a phone call and be like, yo, can you hold a virtual space? Right. I would go live and say, we can't let this, happen in our community, and just share messaging or whatever. And so 2 or 3 times a day, I would go live or whatever to whatever what the need was. And so I had to realize that a lot of that was heavy. And so I couldn't do it 7 days a week anymore. And I needed to start prioritizing self-care.
Got you.
Like, so I haven't seen you.
It's been a minute. I've seen you.
Well, seen you, but I haven't
since 2012, where I really remember seeing you.
Yeah. 2000. So that was
when I was at 12th Baptist. I'm not gonna lie. No, I left there in 2012. So yeah,
and that was the youth group,
there.
right?
Yep. We did a poetry night or something.
Yep. I was performing.
How didn't I know?
Because I'm like, wait, y'all have a whole relationship?
I told you this.
Wait, what is y'all connection?
I thought I've known Vonnie originally from, I think, your connection with Michael. McPherson.
Yep.
As a rapper.
Yep.
And then I kept up like with
I know
Dell and
I just didn't know that
music.
free. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, that was
it's a small world.
It is.
It's crazy.
Boston.
It is. It is.
But yeah, I remember Vonnie. He was your little evangelist, poet, preacher guy.
I had another question.
Yes. But he just was trying to give him some much.
Walk was looking at me crazy.
I just want to make sure he gets some camera time. But
this is different for him because
I'm
talking. He knows, but it's different.
Yeah, no, but I like the opportunity to kind of sit back and learn more about you,
right?
Because I've seen, but I haven't seen enough, and I haven't been like really, I guess, in tune with what you've had going on for the last however many years. So this is actually enjoyable for me to like learn about what you've been doing, how busy you've been, and the leaps that you've made. Even though I didn't know the lows,
right.
Like learning it now in real time is kind of it's inspiring, really.
Wow.
And I'm over here the same way, like just listening. I'm kind of
I know it's different from Trip.
Yeah. So when did you all right, so you're doing this, you're starting 2020, and then, momentum's picking up. When was the moment where you're like, yeah, this is it? Like what event or something where you were like, this is what I want to be doing moving forward?
The day Josie Ann Martinez called me and she said, do you have a rate sheet? And I was like, no. Here and there, people, would reach out, and I was, with the hustle, I was doing like flyers for people, $25, $50, $35. People were fussing about that, James, you need to charge more. I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm on unemployment, keep it balanced, try to be ethical a little bit. And this was, I want to say maybe January, February, somewhere along the line, we had an uptick in the winter. And
that's because people
Josie
in the house is cold.
To me and was like, yo, I got a 5-figure budget, over $10,000. And I said, and I said, well, she said, well, what do you charge, for ads and what? I said, I don't know. People would send me $25 Cash App. I put the little flyer up and do something. I mean, I was doing this before, Java with Jimmy. And so she said, get you a rate sheet together. Dude, again, pastor, nonprofit leader, or politician. I don't know nothing about this industry.
Right, rate sheets, right.
Yeah. And so
was rate sheet something that you were just like, what the hell is that?
I mean, I understood what it was because in that work, I've had to purchase, times, ads and whatnot. So I knew what it was, but I had no idea how to. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and whatnot. Did I have a website? I think I had a website, but I hadn't figured out how to throw the cast up on there yet. So it was just a landing page for people to go to. And so she was like, well, I have a couple of clients in the medical industry. They see what you're doing. And don't forget, people were still at home.
Right.
And so we want to buy some time. And so I was like, okay. And she was like, well, here's the budget. And all I had to do for about 6 to 8 weeks was point and click. Not even 6 to 8 weeks, because the thing that was funny was I think it was a month's campaign. And I was like, $10,000.
So is that within the first year or?
That was within all I remember is the check landed after I broke up and I was happy about that. So that was
right. Yeah.
So, cause March was the anniversary and I remember like, I can't wait till this thing lands, Cause I had to set myself up and whatnot. And the good thing is, for a disclaimer, in case anybody watching from the state or whatever, I started a business. And I understood the way business rolls. I incorporated, not LLC. LLC, sometimes I believe your social or your personal identity is associated with it to protect you from it, but I think your social's associated with it. And so I knew that incorporation would keep my social away.
Totally separate.
Yeah. And so as a business, Then when I did my taxes, come to find out, I paid taxes on my unemployment. My tax consultant, she told me, she said, yeah, I looked at your stuff. Out of that, you know, extra $2,400, and I've been public about this on my platform. Out of that extra $2,400 a month, what was needed for Java with Jimmy, along with grants and whatnot, I paid taxes on that unemployment. My tax person said, she said, when you get your business up to a point, write yourself $17,000 check. I said, huh? What? And then so the money from Josie Ann was getting ready to kick in, and then all these other contracts and things kicked in. And so you remember the summer of 21? And I was in Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember.
That was, I don't pay myself. And so I had also understood that this was a field, and I can justify creating content on Miami Beach.
Yep.
Around self-care,
yeah.
while I'm eating tuna tartare and drinking, you know, an espresso martini.
Bougie.
That's content. Yeah, I know you've seen the rose petal pancakes stories and whatnot.
Oh man, pancakes. Let's not talk about pancakes.
We're not going to talk about pancakes.
I didn't eat
We're
before I
not
got
going
here.
to talk about pancakes. I cut it out.
Listen, for me, that is, I haven't got to a point yet where I can pay myself. And so as long as, when I first met my tax consultant, I kept saying to her, am I going to jail? Am I going to jail? She said, Jimmy, you're not going to jail. She said, you're going to pay a couple of fines. But, you know, I want to be ethical about that. And so that year, when you talked about the pop, or this was something to bring everything back, it was when Josie Ann called me and offered me over a 10G contract. Yeah. And then everything after that, different hospitals. 2023, we all came in Roxbury. Johnson & Johnson sponsored my health fair for one day. A few people know what the budget was. I'm not saying that. Well, have I said it? No, haven't. Well, to a couple people. Another 5-figure contract that was higher than the Josie Ann one for a one-day project.
For one day, right.
That's why we were able, when people came to the door, they was getting them gift cards, and we gave out $100 gift cards and all this other stuff. And so there is, for me, always impact in this, but I forgot what my tax person calls it. There's an IRS classification for content creators and influencers that they for whatever reason, some media, something, I can't remember what it's called. And so I've embraced that, being a content creator and some of that social media presence brings people in and the attention. But if by happenstance one day they tune into the show, they see us talking about cancer, and it sparks somebody to go get a mammogram, I'm good with
impact,
that.
right.
And I do, you know, that's it, impact more than anything. And so I embraced the Miami. I haven't been to Miami. I got back here on August 11th. I haven't been to Miami since August.
Miami.
I've only
You just went
been
to Florida
So
recently.
sad. You haven't been to Miami.
I've only been 3
in
times this year, and you know, in 21.
Yeah.
That must be so
y'all
sad.
know I would listen. That is my safe.
I feel so bad for you, Jimmy. If only
Y'all
you
make
could have
me-
went 5 times.
Right.
No,
I feel so
21. I remember all y'all thought you got to boo down there. Nah, it's self-care.
Nah,
it's
you
the
definitely
water.
did. There's no way.
Nah.
It's
As soon
the
as you
water
hit,
and the food.
as soon as you hit that Miami air, it's like, you know what?
That heat is
I'm gonna sniff a line today.
miserable.
I was about to say, I'm not too fond of the Miami air.
That heat.
Y'all didn't hear what he said.
No.
No, I say it so much they just
What?
skip over.
He said, I'm going to hit Miami and said, well, I'm not used to that. So you had me like, wait, what? Uncle Mo went on
I
real
said I'm gonna
quick.
sniff a line today. As soon as you hit Miami
You
air,
didn't see my
it's
head?
like,
I was like, wait. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's stay focused.
We know that's bullshit, but
That better be some goddamn
Yeah.
outfit.
so let me just widen the scope up
Yes,
so
sir.
we can all kind of. So obviously, in hindsight, you're an entrepreneur. Before this is your first entrepreneurial space where it was just all you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm. It's fair to say we've all had some type of entrepreneurial experience. How do you? How do I put this?
Executive producer of Java with Jimmy.
That's what we
Checks-
paying me, by the way.
Yeah. So when I write checks, or when people purchase media buys, they write their checks and they pay effective strategies. That was the consulting firm I set up. I have a 501c3 nonprofit where my grants and stuff come through, and that story's crazy. So tell me, the multifaceted thing. So there's me as in James that it took a while for me to value. I told you I was doing flyers and stuff for people for $25, $50. Me as an individual, I'm just saying, it's funny because I don't know when this is coming out, but this reach out to, hey, can you, and can you connect me, and can you listen? I count my time as a peer educator at the age of 11 in Bromley Heath Housing Projects in the CAVE program. I'm 52 years old. That is 41 years of building a network that through good, bad, and ugly, burning bridges and repairing them and coming back. If there's not relationship and it's not life and death for someone or a major win for our community, you're going to get a 15-minute consultation phone call. Yep. And then after that, we need to talk business.
Exactly.
And that, but you know, for me, coming out of ministry and in community, that's my hands are sweating talking about it. You know what I'm saying? But I got to pay rent. I'm the one that keep it all the way 100. I hate fourth quarter. The last 2 years, fourth quarter, 21, I did well. The end of 22 last year, I had got back from Miami from my last trip in like October. I think I had squeezed one more in November. And what happened was one of my contracts ended 3 months early, and it caused a $15,000 deficit from my projection to my actual. Guess who forgot to subtract the $15,000 from the actual?
You.
Yo ass.
And so I went to pay rent.
Not the lawyer.
Shut up. I went to pay rent in December, and I was like, and so I had to call good friend and mentor, got into the explanation, and if I imitate them, anybody that sees this from the platform is going to know who it is.
Wait, dude, because I feel like
No, it's not. It's one of the two. It's not who you're thinking of.
All right.
It's one of the two. And I was like, yo, this is what it is. And I got ready to give this long explanation. It was like, I've been watching you, What do you need? And left it like that. This year, I'm hustling. Y'all see me sticking around and out there and whatnot. A lot of it is just people are asking. Everything is not paid. Some of it is just because it's community. And so I kind of forgot how we got there. You asked me something.
So my question was basically like, how did you find value?
Value.
Yeah.
So on me, I'm getting there.
Right.
As of January 1st, and with the team, what they said on Tuesday, they're like ready to like. One of the things that a few people have said early on and still say, the acts. It's weird saying this. My openness and access to any and everybody is stressful sometimes. Going to events, and it's a social event. I want to say this carefully because you don't know what people are going through. But, you know, and especially when I done had like 2 or 3 drinks. Like I'm trying, first of all, I'm not trying to talk to you. Because if not, I have a mint, and depending on the mint, it may intensify the alcohol for a minute. Like, and so I'm cognizant of that. I'm also like, at that time in those environments, y'all see me at the whole Estella's thing and whatnot. That's my mini when I can't get to Miami. Like that is it. So it is interesting as far as assessing value on myself and not thinking that I'm, too wonderful, but you got to balance. I don't know how I got there. You got to balance valuing yourself properly, but also not valuing yourself enough to value yourself.
I like that answer.
I like that. That's how
I totally get, like, I do photography and videography. It's the biggest struggle when you're trying to quote or rate someone because you're like,
damn, listen, I don't want to. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's like I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and not get business, but at the same time, it's like how do we have this happy medium where they're getting what they want, but I'm also not overworking and being underpaid. So that's a difficulty that I've always struggled with within this space. Obviously, we don't have that issue. You're pretty good at.
What you say.
So at valuing me,
I take care of
that's another thing. Like,
and you got some you got a couple of gigs.
And all of that.
Honestly, like I will say this from my personal experience. I've been in a lot of rooms that I know that had I not had a connection with you. So shout out to my brother Trip. That had I not had that connection, that I wouldn't even have ever not only been in those rooms, but not even explored that space. Right. Because like when we did the Black Men's Conference, like, and we did that.
Neither one of us explored that space before. I ran comms for a 2-day conference. I mean, when they do the screens, when the people up at the conference.
It was crazy. It was a little crazy. And you know what's funny? And the thing is, like, working
again, thinking about
because he gets worked up whenever shit goes bad. He's like, oh, nigga, if it ain't perfect, then it ain't doing it. And I'm just like, Jimmy, relax. That's what planning's for. We plan because shit's going to go wrong, and we may have to fix it. But nah, it got crazy. Sounds wasn't working, and it's live.
And then the dude remember he tried to tell me it was we were out. We left, went and ate or something. Did I drop you off or whatever? And we had to wind up going back to the hotel at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. After they cleared the room for the setup. They had to do the whole thing. They
moved stuff after
the whole
we
track
set it up. So when we got there the next day, it wasn't how it was the night before. And it's like, now we have limited amount of time to fix these issues. And they're like, no, it's you. And he's like, definitely not me.
Told me it was my equipment and whatnot. And I sent that email to the supervisor. I was like,
but it was a hell of an experience. Just being around all those people that were Black and beautiful and just like successful. And he was in the room with Jordan's first designer. Yeah, the first designer.
Jordan's first sneaker designer. The one that just launched the first Black sneaker brand. There's a Black sneaker brand that just launched, and we were in the room with him.
It was amazing. But again, those are experiences I would have never had. I was like, had I not worked with you. Even a lot of the health stuff, like the healthy Java, and just kind of having these intimate spaces where you're like hanging out with the mayor. So
the ICA one, the doctor was like,
Dr. Labre.
Dr. Labre's from the show, but Dr. Betancourt. The ICA one was amazing. The day.
Just to hear some of the people talking, you're like, yo,
what is this guy?
Right. Who is this guy?
Dr. An investor.
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Like from the outside, it's like, this guy is somebody for real.
No, that day, the day I knew, that was one of the days I knew that this was like real. Remember, I was joking. So Walk was my photographer. Yep. I think the ICA had a photographer.
Miles was there too.
Miles was there for the Waterfront Coalition. Yep. Shout out to them in the Davis system. So I had like 3 photographers. Newt was there, and so I jokingly said, "Okay, come on, let's do the whole thing. We all following me taking the pictures or whatever." We took like 3 steps, and I said, "Stop! I can't." It was weird. They was like, "Well, we can't. We're already filming." I'm like, that was the day where I was like, and it was weird because when Anthony said it from the iPhone to the ICA, I mean, that is the Institute of Contemporary Art.
Bro, that is such a bar.
I have a question.
Waterfront. Like the Boston Harbor was our backdrop.
So it was a beautiful day.
Yeah. Because I feel like when I've reached a certain pinnacle of like success, I tend to self-sabotage a little bit. Right? So like to kind of like piggyback off the valuing yourself, when I've gotten to a place where I felt like, oh, this could go, fear struck.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, whoa, wait. I have to go out there in front of how many people? Like, I have 2 songs that are maybe good. Right? So now I'm like, the doubt comes in and everything else. And I feel like, how did you overcome that?
I haven't. So in the moment of the show, the only thing I'll bug about and make me nervous is if setup's not right.
If that sound ain't working, that nigga is going crazy.
We just had a situation last week.
We had a situation. And,
no, but you know what's funny? I told him the same thing I tell you all the time. I'm like, check at the location. No, I checked it at home yesterday. I don't care. We're here today.
Right.
Check it here.
Bonnie, not me. I don't say it like
that. But you do too. No, how do you? I just did it yesterday. And then you set it up. I don't know what the fuck
crazy.
Now he's all uncomfortable.
Full-blown panic attack.
And it's like, y'all should have done.
That's bad.
I'm your typical light-skinned dude when things don't go right. Oh, my God.
I was not happy.
So, in the show, nothing about the show. I mean, that day at the IC, I was a little bit nervous. Nothing about the show and talking to people bothers me. I used to preach and whatnot. So that, gave me some, I guess, chops to be able to do this. The fear factor and the sabotage is when I said I haven't overcome it yet, that is still every once in a while, certain things. This came in the other day from the team, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, damn, like this. Hear why I'm saying, feel this.
Yes, she feels cheap.
I'm not sure. Now, as much as I was great being humble, I
Now you gotta talk.
You know what I'm saying? No, but in all seriousness, the first hoodie wasn't like this.
Okay.
It was bonfire. It was painted on or whatever you call it. And when I'm like, yo, it's quality.
Right.
People are asking for hats and scullies, and it still sometimes scares me. Mm-hmm. I was in Whole Foods this summer. Man, this cool was a rabbi. But he was coming towards me, and I was literally was getting ready to walk past. The hood in me was like, yo, you weren't alert enough to your peripheral that you know that somebody literally was going to walk up on you. Mm-hmm. And then when he came and talked to me, you just never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. And so that there's a part of me that is scared of the unknown. And I'll be perfectly transparent. He knows this, and he knows this. I have the propensity to be a little bit big-headed.
Really? Tell us more.
I do. And one of my fears are that I would like let some sort of celebrity sort of thing like slip to my head. Mm. I don't think it ever will, because when that stuff does happen, like I gel up real quick and like, okay, time to go. Remember the NAACP?
Nigga.
Oh, sorry. Shit, nigga. Yo, the NAACP, we walked in and I walked like when we got to it from the time I got off the escalator. Yeah. Everybody was like, and I said,
it got a little crazy. It got a little crazy.
To step back a little bit, and so I don't think that'll ever happen. But you know,
but you do. So I've been out with you too, both of you guys. But I've been out with you too. The Dropout Summit with Kurt, and it's like I'm shy. Y'all know I'm shy.
Yeah.
It's people left and right. Jimmy.
Let me tell you something. Like, never try to make a plan to leave with Jimmy. If you want to get out of there at 6, tell him at 5:30, because if you got to get from here to there, there's 75 people he done spoke to before he got to there. I'm like, Jimmy,
it's time to go.
Don't talk to him. Call him. Text him.
Right. You got to act like security.
Because, bruh, we got to leave up out of here.
And, yo, I'm going to say this right now. If certain things that I go to or whatever, sometimes I do feel like I need some, not security, to a buffer.
But somebody.
Because I don't ever want to be the one right now he got to go. Because I'm going to stand there, and we were laughing.
And we've had those experiences.
And it's like, but
knowing dang well, you got to leave 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, but as things are developing, I'm saying publicly, like if anybody ever says, hey, Jimmy, got to run, that ain't being wonderful. That's just, and what they said in the meeting the other day was, what did they say? You're trying to help other people and have impact, and you're not having an impact on yourself. And I was like, and they didn't say it exactly like that, but whatever Aaron said, I was like,
shout out Aaron,
home. And
the Davis sister.
I'm becoming comfortable in being uncomfortable and people being too comfortable with me.
Right.
And it's a process. And I'm probably going to backslide a lot. Well, I was supposed to be off this month, and I got, I love y'all. But if this was, well, first of all,
Aaron,
we should have did it during text.
I was going to get this.
I mean, you're my nephew. Y'all are family and whatnot. But I wasn't supposed to be doing nothing. It's a Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just, that's how I roll. And so you do need that level of buffer and protection. And sometimes when you're out, it does get a little, people don't understand that the Java with Jimmy is not a radio show that does music and fashion and pop culture and whatnot. No, the mission of Java with Jimmy is to share information and resources and make people aware for the purpose of mobilizing them toward action to improve their quality of life. It's a whole lot.
Okay.
That was good.
But everything, if you're talking quality of life, you're not talking about, I would have wore gray laces instead of yellow.
Yeah.
This is like, no,
I actually like the yellow.
My aunt got burned out and the city's not getting back to me. Like, y'all, man, listen. Walker's been in the car sometimes, whatever, with phone calls or things have happened, or people have emailed me and said, and I'm not going to say which elected officials, but I get sidebarred like, yo, we reached out to such and such's office. They haven't responded. Can you nudge them? And I do it. That's going to be one of them things that's in January 24.
Monetize that.
Well, I'll have to figure out how to make it happen, because making a phone call And if it's something for community,
It's all a consultation fee.
But it's just weird because, like, let's say, I don't know, random organization, Freedom House call. Charmaine is my friend.
Right.
Charmaine she looks out for me and she understands business. But if she called me and was like, yo, we were trying to get, I don't know, Congresswoman Presley to come, could you just, if you mention it, whatever. One thing that's interesting, and I'll say this publicly, there is proximity to a lot of these people, but I think people make some presumptions by what they see in public. Mm-hmm. Ayanna, I call her my sister. We don't text every day. We don't talk every day. We really only talk long for more than a half an hour twice a year. It's like a thing. The beginning of part of the year, probably the next couple of weeks, she'll call. That's what we do. And so it's oftentimes I deal with people like, can you da-da-da-da? And I'm like, y'all don't understand that ask is not you asking. Mm-hmm. That's me.
Right.
And in the political world, you got to balance those asks. There's a politician out there right now that the day he said to me, I need to ask you to do me a favor, I was in MGH's hallway in the Bullfinch building next to the Ether Dome. I remember this as plain as day. Gray paint on the floor, white paint on the wall. That dude said, I need to ask you to do me a favor. I left MGH in 2017. This had to be in 15 or 16. This is what, 23? Yep. You think I called in that favor yet?
No, but you will eventually. Yeah.
And it's a high-ranking elected official. Right. And I'm like, so I know that I'm saying that to say that sometimes I think people have expectations that are unreal. Mm-hmm. I'll go ahead and say of me and others by public perception.
Also, that and they think past relationships make them feel like you owe them, and it's like that's not our relationship.
Cup here so I could take my infamous sip.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. On Thursdays, you have Mayor Michelle Wu on your show. Is that correct?
Not every week. I have the mayor every first Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Sorry. So Wednesday.
And I wish I would have
a residency with you. What?
Not a residency. She annual. And I'll keep it real. So I like where the camera is over there. I was leaving City Hall, and Mayor Wu was sitting there as I believe it was a Rappaport fellow. I forgot what fellowship it was out of Harvard. She was sitting in front of Larry's office. Larry Mays was the former chief of human services. And, we were crossing at the same time. I was moving into Boston Centers for Children and Families. She was coming in as an intern. And I would go down there and whatnot. She said something a few weeks ago, introducing me somewhere. She was like, yo, when James would come to the 5th floor, the energy would change. And so I've known Michelle since 13, 14, if not 15 or so, 2013, 10 years. That's when she ran. I think that I left the 5th floor in 10. So that's about 13 years that, and yes, the relationship picked up once she got into council. Michelle's a type that I remember one year I didn't vote for her. I didn't endorse her, and I was very public about it. I bet you I still got a text in my phone, a voicemail in my phone talking about, Jimmy, I'm so sorry that I didn't do the work to earn your vote.
Accountability.
Yo, and a lot of, and please allow me a few minutes to make this, because I haven't been set up to say it publicly and like this. A lot of people think I cap for the mayor. When you've worked in City Hall, federal government and whatnot, and you get to know people and understand that sometimes what they want to do is, there's this philosophy of the head, the hands, and the heart. The heart wants to do something. The head understands that, okay, I got to look. For the immediate, it may look good, but for the long term, and don't forget, you can run on a platform, but you don't know the ins and outs until you actually get into the office. Right. And so it's not a cap. It's just that I know her. There's this notion, the mayor doesn't like black people.
Is that really a thing? I never heard that.
Oh God, have y'all been, go on my Twitter when this is over. That I made a statement because there's this thing going on out there now, because for 10 years they have electeds of color holiday party. Somebody made a simple human error mistake and sent the invitation to all the electeds, and then retracted and said this was sent out by mistake. I don't remember. I seen the screenshot. I don't remember what it says, but it basically was like the people lighter than me and Bonnie, don't need to necessarily show up.
Yeah, a little
and
too
so
bright.
This has made CNN, Fox, and all that. Anyway, I'm not going to get too far in that because this still say I was capping for her. All that to say is there's a lot of perception of proximity to power. Do I still? This past week, me and the mayor had a brotherly, sister, passionate
conversation,
text exchange. I'm like, yo, da, 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 da. She's like, well, listen, right now, have you seen? And I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? That's like if I text your mom, I'm like, and she's like, I got all these kids over here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to come at any woman elected the same way I would as a man. It's just very different.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so that all that to say that proximity to power often is perceived that I can pick up a phone and make something happen. Yeah. Even if I could, some of the stuff that y'all want to happen ain't about the hood. It's about you looking good and about, man, listen, I'm sorry.
No, because at the end of the day, they are politicians.
I was just about to say, it's politics at the end of the day.
And that ain't the politicians. I'm talking about the people that are hitting me. Yeah, like for the hookup and for the like, you know, if it's something for a family or for community, if it's going to be good, yeah, I'll do it. But if you just know, I don't speak for everybody else. I can discern folks' motives and whatnot. And you know, I used to be a preacher, and the Bible says that gifts still can be active even though you're a heathen. And I still got my gifts. And sometimes the Bible says gifts cometh without repentance. That's the way the Bible says it. Yes. But I'm saying it in layman's terms. I could be a heathen, and I was born with these. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, anyway, y'all got me way out there.
So there you go.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question, but
no, go
left.
All right. So speaking of, and I'll stay there. We can go left. So you say you're being a preacher. So
used to be.
Used to be a preacher. Earlier this year, I got to go with you, and we did the revealing of the Embrace statue, which caught a lot of slack as far as like the statue itself.
Crazy.
But obviously, you were a part of you had a gospel choir up there doing their thing. How the hell do you? Because you just have your hands in so many cookie jars. It's like 1 minute we're at a health fair, the next minute he's like, it's how do you even get into all of these situations where you're like headline? No,
he was texting me like, yeah, I'm in the middle of rehearsal or whatever. I'm like, this guy, man.
Like, mind you, because a lot of the times Jimmy's like Spike Lee. I don't know if you ever seen Samuel Jackson, but Samuel Jackson said that Spike Lee would reach out to him. He's like, hey, Sam, I got this movie. See you in June. That's how Jimmy is. Jimmy will send me a flyer.
Randomly hit.
He'll just hit me, yo,
you'll be with me Thursday.
You free? Yeah, exactly. You're like, yo, you free this day? Yeah. Send me a flyer. See you then. And it's just like, I have no idea what's going. I don't know if I'm AVing. I don't know if I'm doing photography, videos, but I just go prepared for whatever I'm going to do.
He asked the right questions on photography. I'm on this, and I usually decide or whatever.
That's why I connected you guys too. So
it's interesting. So again, I'm brought in this space. I had no idea what my job would be that day. Wanted to be in photos. It was an amazing time. Got to meet Martin Luther King III. And a whole bunch of other.
I was about to say MLK himself. I was about to say what?
And all these other people. But
where?
How do you got that many connections?
How do you in that moment? You're like, you're performing in front of all these people, a whole bunch of high-ranking officials of the city. I think the new governor, what's her name?
Maura Healey.
Yeah, she spoke. There was a whole bunch of people there. And then
I'm with her. What's today? Sunday.
Yeah,
I'm going to sit with her tomorrow.
So then you headline. You and your choir that I'm assuming you guys just put together, because this wasn't no choir that you were just working on throughout the year. You guys just kind of like
this time last year I was stressed.
You held auditions and everything, right?
This time last year I was stressed because I had known about. So how I got it was shout out to, I'll call him my forever manager, Newt.
Shout out Newt. Yo,
Newt
Newt's
was
my
the
guy.
plug for that. Newt knew that I used to sing and whatnot. He was like, hey, what we're envisioning as a choir, do you want to do it? And I think it was the year before I did the mayor's gospel choir. And so I had got on their radar. And we pulled that off in a couple of months. And so I had known about it for a few months. And then all of a sudden, early November, it was like, oh, shoot, January's coming. Rush did auditions. And so Newt was the plug. And again, it comes from church and I've toured. Like there's a couple of CDs out with like my faces and voice on them. And so in the gospel industry,
this forever too.
Guitar,
garage band, talking about you make beats.
I made my one of my first tracks for Java with Jimmy. I made it. I listen to it now and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But you couldn't tell me that I was in GarageBand doing loops and whatnot. It sounded good to me.
Humble
But the
beginnings
sirens and all that.
But that's the cool part, right? When you get to go back and look at your original work, and you're like, "Damn, look how far I've came."
It's
like, I know that must be like, "Wow, I really am outside doing this."
Outside, right.
It's crazy. It's some of the stuff like that. I went viral for the first time, and hopefully, when I wake up tomorrow, will be my first 30 days with 1 million.
First of all,
Wait,
seen that video.
That video, you talking about the one with your aunt?
Who?
You ain't shit for that video.
Yeah, I'm like, she
fell her ass off, and you put that on the.
Oh, I told her. Sheila posted it. Sheila posted it. I screenshot it. I called her and I said, "Hey," I called her. I said, "How you doing?" She was like,
and then he put it on repeat.
I know why you called. I said, "No, I really called to see how you're doing. But if you don't got no objections, you about to go viral." She's like, "Ha ha ha, da 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 da." Little did we know. Little that we knew.
The number.
We about to hit 2.2.
That's crazy.
And my followers went up over 1,700 since Thanksgiving. So it's
all you gotta do is bust your ass. You get some followers.
Man, listen, and people are telling me to remix it and whatnot. I don't know, but you know, it and my city's changed. It was Dorchester, Roxbury, blah blah blah. My cities are now freaking New York, Philly, Chicago, and something. And I looked at that and I'm like, and so that's
regional
the stuff.
now. That's good. The regional.
That's the stuff where, because Real Boston Media, others, they've all talked about this, you know, like national thing and blowing up. And I know, you know, like it's coming, but it just, I want to be ready. Mentally, I want to be ready with the right team. And I have the team with the Davis, but I need to get that production person that I trust. And I have it at GBH. Shout out to Annie and Evelyn that hold me down at GBH. But, you know, they're at GBH. Right, you know what I'm saying? And it's very different. You know, that's the official, like this thing I'm doing on Wednesday on GBH, the concert. I had to come within the confines of what's public domain. And go through, you know, copyright.
Their culture, essentially. It's their culture.
It's what I call, no disrespect to GBH, but legacy mainstream media culture is very different from me wanting to do, like if I had this space and wanted to do a concert here, we bring them cameras and they could play and sing whatever the hell they wanted to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, we couldn't play copyrighted tracks because Facebook would kick us off, but that's a whole different world of these partnerships. I got a few things dropping next month. We'll be at the museum once a month, Museum of Science once a month. Okay. The ICA is a museum.
Okay.
I want to get into MFA. I want to get into MFA because it's so, and other people have done stuff.
MFA is really nice too.
Janae and whatnot. They've done wonderful things there, but there's part of me that I want to do something at the MFA and just sort of.
How would you correlate the MFA? That's the Museum of Fine Arts for those who don't know. With what you do, like what would be
the correlation? So and it's interesting because for y'all, I think, you know, you've done some stuff in fashion and music. You do photography that's considered art. You spit and done a whole lot of stuff. I'm probably the only one who has in the past like couple of years or few years, artists have embraced podcasters and influencers through a lens of creatives. It won't, you know, they may say creatives freely, but then when you start talking about artistry, no, it is an art to look at a graphic. Even if somebody else creates it, you got to approve it. You create your own aesthetic, your brand. And so
we're learning that.
Where you know, we are absolutely artists, and so that does need to be, you know, appreciated. So it's been a learning curve. This has 4 years in March, and there's still, you know, potential to grow and whatnot. But it just I've learned a lot these last few years about myself too. Especially
I think that's
recently.
A perfect segue actually for my next question.
Okay.
We initially this week we're going to talk about how the absence of our fathers affect, you know, where we are now. Sorry about that. Yeah. So how do you think that has shaped, you know, you and where you are now?
I mean, it varies from, you know, there's this philosophy about people, if it hasn't come out when I was talking about relationship, I'm a black gay male. And from the variation of not having a father being a contributor to that to maybe not knowing how to manage finances to, you know, always that thing in us to, because I know you, I know that I'll just say that paternal and son relationship could have been better. but at least you know yours. Some will say, well, some of y'all turned out better. Some people said, James, you don't know. Actually, you might have turned out better with your father not being involved.
Right.
You know, and so there's that piece. It's a contributing factor. It still comes up at 52 every now and then. It contributes to how I respond to what I perceive as rejection.
Yep.
You know, because your mom's and them's father was the one who was like, that's who I called daddy. And there was periods in time, I'm coming to get you, it wouldn't show up. And so, you know, now 30, 40 years later, we can correlate, you know, this mental health space, put it all together. But I notice also, I think even for, I'm going to say something way out there. You know, as much as we say women have daddy issues, all three of them ninjas that I've only been in 3 relationships. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't come out till I was 46. So, you know, I didn't have no relationship skills going into this at 46 and whatnot, or coping skills when we broke up. Oh God.
I know we talked about that too.
I was done. The first relationship, I thought life was going to end. I was going to end my life, but I just didn't know what I was going to do. All that to say too, women ain't the only one with daddy issues when it comes to even relationships
or mommy issues.
Or mommy
daddy
issues.
issues. But yeah, we
you know
talking
what I'm
about
saying?
So.
Yeah.
It's
sure.
I think it has had influence on me, but not in any like major way. Have I wondered, you know, if my father was around, would I had not been gay? I don't know. Would he have been there when? And that's it. We can do part 2 later, or whatever.
That's a whole.
That's a whole nother. You know,
but
showing
that's
itself
fire
how
because
and what exposes and when and you know. Yeah.
That was a good question.
No.
So, does anyone else want to actually touch on that question, or was we just leaving that to the guests, or do you want to follow up with
I mean, I think he pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. I'm just saying for your personal.
I mean, you definitely like, because I've been thinking about this over the last 2 weeks or so. Yeah. I noticed for me, I think I have times where I'm like, I'm cool. I don't need him. Maybe since 15, 16, I felt that way. But I have times, random moments where I'm like, dang, like, if only, you know, you were, again, finances, how you deal with your emotions, you know, stuff like that. But I think the biggest one for me, there's 2 major aspects of this, which is the type of father that I show up to be for my kids. And I've been able to kind of like,
and you're
I don't think thank you, I appreciate it. I don't think that I've mastered what being a father is like, but based on the lack of that relationship with my dad, I know exactly like what I don't want to be like.
Which is also a motivator, right?
Yeah, it definitely motivates me to like be here and be present. The other thing is I've noticed that unintentionally, I kind of look for that type of relationship or bond.
With peers?
Yeah. Not even necessarily peers, but like, you know, mentors and stuff like
older
that.
males.
Oh yeah, exactly. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I would say most times it doesn't really work. And again, that's a part of me where it's like, dang, sometimes I allow myself to be a little too open because I'm looking for that.
Right.
And that's even with my mom. My mom has obviously been in my life, but you know, there's a disconnect there. So between both of them, oftentimes I allow myself to be a little bit too vulnerable and trusting. Right. And like I said, it doesn't always really work in my favor.
Could be a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It is, but you got to be careful not to let that. In general, it as you get older. I'm not. And how old are you now?
About to be 30.
About to be 30, old bastard.
Next month.
What we doing?
What we doing?
I remember when you was just a little kid.
They got the stories. Dancing, right?
Dell had this dance back in the day.
Damn, Dell.
I think I actually had seen you. You were in your teens early, didn't I? Maybe
you
to do
literally.
It? You was like
throughout, every time you pull up.
Since he's been older, like in his teens, I think I got him to do it one last time. But in general, I think to your point about fatherhood and men, we got to acknowledge the fact that systemically, black men and the model and everything that goes on in this country, from the civil rights movement to, if we weren't married, but I was the baby's father, but the welfare worker came and I was in the home, I didn't get my
you
check.
didn't get your check, right?
You know the term Papa was a Rolling Stone?
Yeah.
You know kind of where that comes from a little bit?
The Temptations? No, sir.
You had to stay. The welfare worker was coming to the house of woman A.
Yeah.
And you had to stay the night out. This is a little bit far-fetched, but the philosophy. Right. You went
to the next
where you had
wherever
to
you had to go.
if it wasn't family and, you got a little player to you and that was an excuse that you couldn't be there that night because you don't know what time they're coming in the morning. And you didn't decide to, leave at 5 and set, and so a little bit of that is there too. That was a contributing factor to some black fathers not being in the home. We got to also, and this is another conversation, our sisters and brothers have been through things in life that caused them for various reasons. Either they got daddy issues or life issues or just whatever. Or sometimes brothers are just nasty, not regarding the women right ninjas.
Yep. Right. Yep.
And we got to also own the fact that some of these chicks out here are toxic. That the toxic masculinity is not confined to just men. There is such thing as toxic femininity.
Bars.
Or masculinity within, because I feel like we always
both. I said both.
Associate
within
masculinity.
No, you can't do
No, you can because we have both energies.
Yeah.
And
everybody. You said within women, you can't have toxic masculinity within women.
The hell you can't.
Yes, you can.
That's
because we both have both sides.
It's not an oxymoron.
There's a couple of
it's not an oxymoron.
Estrogen holders in the room, and I heard something in the background, but that is almost an oxymoron.
Nope.
Okay, so let me break it down.
What you're trying to say is they're taking on what is perceived as masculine ways?
No.
So
because that's the thing. I feel like we don't acknowledge the fact that we have feminine and masculine energy.
Everybody.
Energy versus toxicity. That's what I have.
Why, if you have those energies, why can't they be toxic in those spaces?
Okay, it's a play on words and semantics because when you talk toxic masculinity,
I want to hear you.
All of 85% of that is almost the impact of it is almost anti-female, anti-woman, and so when you said that, the notion of a woman possessing a toxic masculinity, I'm like, even with all this going on in our equal rights and the whole spectrum of the L to the Q and the +2.
Plus,
you still can't. I hope I don't get in trouble for that. I can say that.
That's the premium version.
That almost took me on a whole different place. So I would just say, and it could be old age, and it could be my play on semantics as far as the word of toxic masculinity. Do we have X and Y chromosomes? You know what I'm saying? So oh God, y'all gonna get me way out there. But I got to be careful because I got a whole. Oh no, I know what I want to say, but I just I got a platform to protect it, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
We are in a time where there is a lot of fluidity.
I agree.
We are also in a time that at the end of the day, we have to consider where we are as a society, no matter what your beliefs are or whatever, and this whole term, feminine, masculine, and I'm not making no case, I'm still as liberal and stuff as I am at the root and the core of who I am. I'm a little bit old school. It comes up every now and then. We do need to allow people to let them live as long as they're not hurting themselves or anyone else. And we have to be able to give grace to ourselves and to people. And I get the sentiment or the spirit of what you're saying, feminine and male and whatnot, but it's a thought, and so I'm just like going to share it. And a lot of it comes from these conversations and hosting all these. Like, I've grown from the show because I engage in these conversations, and I'm like,
oh shoot,
that really go
right.
I wasn't raised like that, and I got to sit back.
But now you gotta,
And so all that to say is, we as men, oh God, I'm not even going there. We as men, because you want to be politically correct and whatnot, and it just, we as men, and in this room, we consider ourselves men, and we define ourselves as men. We got some ways about us that, in general, in a lot of the, and there's some behaviors between And oh God, I can't say what I want to say. I want to say it. There's some behaviors between homos and whatnot too that is almost, there's this notion in the hetero world, who's the bitch and who's the, man or whatever and stuff like that. There's some dynamics that play out. But on the opposite end, there's some dynamics that play out that you got two ninjas together and it's like, yo, like at the end of the day, we can get it in. And so.
Pause.
No, get it in by
Nah, just play on culture.
Hey, yo.
No, I got the pause. It's cool.
But you mean like physically, like
fighting.
Like,
at the end,
but not women too.
I don't care what you do.
Women too.
What goes on behind closed doors. At the end
crazy.
of the day, I'm still a freaking man.
Yeah.
And everybody don't ascribe to that, but that's my, what you call it.
Let me just challenge you a little bit, right? So I have a cousin. I'll keep her nameless. We have conversations about relationships. And she'll come to me and she'll ask me certain questions about like, oh, I was talking to dude and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, you're coming off like very masculine.
Nigga. Yeah.
And it's just like, is that toxic in her is that femininity? Or is that her becoming...
But two things there. The negative is that anything that's about a woman... So what does Jasmine say? And God forbid any woman takes agency over her sex in one of the intros of her song.
Yeah,
that we be.
right.
Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. Mom's not gonna see this, right? This on YouTube. Where's this at?
It's gonna go on YouTube, and Mom might see it because I'm gonna send Nana the link.
There is a segue on Jasmine Sullivan's piece where she talks about we tell them that the pussy is theirs, and in fact, it's really ours. You can tell I listen to this a lot. I love
great album, by the way.
Great album.
And so,
Hotels for those who don't know.
Why does a woman, as long as she's safe, honest with the partners and saying, hey, I'm not just being, for the emotional end, for the emotional piece of it, why does that have to be a masculine trait? Because men are the only ones who
I don't think that's necessarily the masculine trait, right? You mentioned the whole
toxic.
No, the household and like the Rolling Stone aspect, right?
Yeah.
So for example, like that plays into literally what we're speaking on. At first it starts off one way. And then you fast forward 20 years, 30 years. Now it becomes a thing where women don't need men, right? I don't need you to be in a household. I'm independent. I could do all of these things by myself. I don't need a man to provide. I don't need a man this. I don't need a man that, right? But then it shows up in other aspects too, where you have, again, overly aggressive women, women who... if a man shares their vulnerable side, he's being a bitch ass nigga, right? There's
a dude right now, the actor with Tyler Perry, that confessed that he was sexually assaulted. And they are
Christian
trying
Keys.
to emasculate him because
that's the point.
He's being honest that he got the dude.
I know it's Keys.
But that's a valid point. Christian Keys.
Christian Keys is this one, but what was the big dude?
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews. The one from White Chicks. Like, he got assaulted. You know what I'm saying? And
by Harvey, right? He grabbed him.
What you talk about being vulnerable and whatnot. We in America, I have had the pleasure of leaving outside the country yet, but I can't wait. A couple of my people are like, you need to go to CV, you need to go here because CV. Jimmy, you would love it. I was like, I ain't coming back. But
he's really gonna be Yava with Jimmy. Yava.
Y'all don't stop.
Wait,
I mean,
y'all better behave.
Go to Colombia.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, anyway, Miami's enough if anything. It ain't even popping down there. That's what's crazy. It man. Anyway, how we get out there? So where we at? We want to show grace towards people in general. A lot of the terms and stuff here in America that we abide by or we pass on to each generation or through our different cultures, influenced by religion, influenced by media,
culture,
influence. It is changing. It is actively changing. And my thing is love, don't hurt, and be humane. And that is a wide spectrum. But I think if all of us drink water, mind our business, if we take those 5 things, love, don't hurt, be humane, drink our water, mind our business, the whole world would be good.
The first one being love.
First at the foundation.
And humane. I think those two are like, if you can lead with those two, everything else kind of...
It kind of falls. And let's keep it 100. There are times, because either I got on your nerves, or you got on my nerves. The last time in March, that you were supposed to come and help up and set up for
this guy.
You was running late. And I was like,
crazy.
never mind. And it wasn't so much the time. You was welcome. I just felt myself off the hook because, you wasn't there on the time. So that
We're not even going to get into that.
I'm messing with him. But what I'm saying is there was a period where he was tight with me and he still loved me, but it was from a distance during that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you've had to practice tough love with your mom or I've had to practice it with family members or loved ones and whatnot, but at the foundation of it all. And I remember this in 20. There was a group called The Loop, and they had a song called Self-Love is the Best Love.
Yep.
And that was a paramount pillar in the Java Cafe. And I always found myself saying that at the foundation of it all, it is love. But there are times where I may have to love you from a distance, and there may be times where I have to practice tough love with you.
And I feel like that's okay.
It's still love. Yeah, because it's still love.
Yeah.
And that distance may be forever.
Yeah. Right.
And may be from light years away.
But it's still
But if
there.
the light catches up and ever don't come, there's still some love.
I got a couple people I love from light years away. And I ain't shouting y'all niggas out.
I got another question.
Yes.
If you could have your cup of Java with anybody in the world, alive, passed away, who would it be?
And why? Yeah, that's a great question.
First, it will of course be Jesus. That's first. I think next would be
Black Jesus or white Jesus?
Jesus. Thank you, because I felt the waterworks coming.
Wait, you said Black Jesus?
I said Jesus.
I said Black Jesus or white Jesus? And you said Jesus.
He's like Jesus from the Middle East.
Yeah, that guy.
Jesus.
Yep.
And if you know, you know.
Yep.
He was not lighter than Vonnie and I.
Jesus
was not.
from like
So,
Kentucky.
I think
Kentucky.
in no particular order.
That's my folks is from, so you know what I mean.
Y'all better be Jesus. Oh, there go the uncle. In no particular order, I would probably say Grandma, Grandpa, and Bishop Bragg.
Okay. Why?
Jesus, of course. Oh God, I think all but for like if I could get away with some things and not being sent to hell and just went off a little bit, 99.9. If 100% would send me to hell, I would go off on Jesus just a little bit.
Or Jesus?
Just a little bit.
Gee, let me
I
you for a
would
second.
because what I mean is like, yo, sir, did we have to go all around here where there was a straight shot?
Right.
And
He's like,
knowing
nigga, I
Jesus,
died at
he's the
33.
type- But
Nah,
the
he's
type-
gonna bring
but
him-
he's the type that if I didn't imagine if I didn't go through cussing people out 7-8 years ago,
Right.
and get
then
that
you
out my
started it
system.
now, right?
MGH and Johnson & Johnson, all them would be like, Jimmy,
Yeah.
the way your brand is going, we need to part our
can't.
ways.
Right.
And so it was, wow, Bishop preached this once, or somebody did. It was necessary for you to go this way. You know what I mean? And so just to get some clarity, thank him. And I mean, those that believe in that Judeo-Christian, who wouldn't want to talk to Jesus?
Right.
Grandma, just because it's grandma. And I miss her wisdom. I miss laying on her lap and squeezing that fat part
pocket.
of her hand. And it was grandma. It just grandma and grandpa. And Bishop, a little bit on the level of Jesus. No, it would be to and that's where the emotion was coming. It would be to thank him. Grandma had her role, grandpa had her role, of course Jesus has his role. But Bishop used to always say to me that you were great. You were talented. But unless you get that nasty attitude together, you will only go but for so far.
Right.
And with this platform and a few other things, I often sit and think about those days in the car, dropping him at the airport or after service. We up in the room, a couple of the young men, and we're just talking and eating and chilling and stuff. And he would say stuff. And now I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
So
That
it's,
revelation hit you like, wow.
yeah, it's some of the stuff from grandma too. She would say things like, that's between you, I, and the gatepost. Grandma, what the hell is the gatepost?
The gatepost.
He's the person letting you in. You quite didn't make it.
Gatepost is
You didn't make it.
But just you and Jesus. Ain't nobody else gonna say nothing. So those would be the people that I would want to have Java with. I guess this is what 4. I could add one more. it would probably either be Noriega or Joe.
Noriega who?
Or Joe.
Button?
He's the hottest thing right now.
Oh, okay, so you talk about podcasters. I'm thinking like
Noriega, I like his setup and style. I would not be getting that twisted live.
I'm thinking Noriega like
every time I watch Drink Champs, I'm just like, dang, I couldn't.
They get to a period to where the unfiltered let some things be fun, but then you need to filter some of the stuff at some point. Joe is just, I can't. I'm about to create a pause reel just for Joe Budden because there'd be some stuff he's saying. I'd be like,
it'd be funny to
pause. So yeah, but he right now is the hottest thing going. I think he's on staff at Patreon and whatnot. And so Noriega, I like his style. I would fall asleep like watching and all these episodes. And they're oh God, I'm going to show my age now. Was it Wiz Khalifa? I don't know, one of them little rappers. Was
the Wiz Khalifa one was heavy. It was a game.
Yes. So I think that was the one. That was the one where I was like, and I'm listening and looking. I'm like, that's that little kid. So yeah, Noriega or Joe. I would probably say Joe just because of his business acumen. Yeah. Like there's certain thing that comes out behind Patreon, and he's paid. You know.
Yeah. So have you had a chance to tune in to Earn Your Leisure yet? EYL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were here a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Some months ago.
So you asked that question. I feel like we should all be held accountable to answer it.
To answer?
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
So I'll give it to.
About what? Earn Your Leisure?
The 3 people that you
talk
to.
You could tell I didn't have a lot to say there.
Oh.
Right?
Nah.
Yeah.
That's tough. 3 people that I would talk to. I would have a cup of Java with.
Well, whatever.
It could just be one person.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 3.
Oh, okay. Probably my dad. Probably my dad. Which is interesting because my abuela is here from
your dad's side. Oh yeah.
So I haven't seen her in almost 30 years since I was a baby. So she's telling me all the stories about him,
right,
and all the things that like I'm realizing how much alike I am with him, but I never knew him.
Right.
You know, he passed when I was 1, so it's like
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I would just want to probably talk to him. I don't know. Ask if he's proud of me.
Right.
I probably would ask if I don't know. Has he been here the whole time? Like you watching? Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like you been seeing?
Yeah. It was, and I would probably be upset a little bit with, like, dang, bro, go in the house. Like, you know, like he was killed, so
right.
being outside, like, go in the house, cause I need you. You know what I'm saying? And like watching, like raising my kids and raising even like my sister. You know what I'm saying? Just being so
Scott.
instrumental in like just raising children and like dang, I wanted that for me, selfishly of course, but like I wanted that. So I would just talk to him, try to maybe fill in some gaps of like, yo, like what could you tell me that might help me?
Right. Yeah, live life a little bit too.
I love
that was dope.
For me, he said his dad. I don't
know how we really follow up after both answers.
I don't want to meet my dad. What I would, I know this sounds.
You don't want to meet your dad?
I mean, I've seen him a couple times, and it's just like,
I wasn't too pleased.
I wasn't. No, seriously, I don't disagree with him like at all. Like, you know, but I know this is kind of cliche, but like Kobe Bryant was one of my favorite people who I never met. Like, he just always, or at least presented this work acumen that I just want and would thrive to have. I don't know how he got there to that moment in his life where everything was just like work, but I just wish that I had could just pick his brain the way he's picked so many brains over the years to become the best version of who he is. Like, I know that sounds corny, like compared to your dad.
No, it doesn't.
But it's just like he's just one of those people that like when he passed away, like I was fucking horrified. Like, oh my God, not Kobe Bryant. Like,
I remember that time too. Like it was just
a terrible time.
19?
That was 20, January 26th of 20.
Soon the first,
we were at.
So that was right before we.
That was
Kobe. You know, we as a nation.
I think we were at It's Lit when it happened.
No, 2020 was started shitty. It was what's old boy's name? Pop Smoke, then Kobe, and it just then COVID, and then you know.
Yeah, no,
It was-
But no, George
Mm-hmm.
Floyd, like, 2020 was not a great year, even though, you know what's crazy? As bad as 2020 was as a year, it was probably the best year that I had as far as being able to, like, expand on who I was as a person. Like, I got to stay in the house. I learned how to cut hair. I learned how to make beats. I learned photography for real. Like, if I didn't have that free time, even though it wasn't necessarily free,
Right.
I know like a lot of people lost their lives, but like
It was
at
a
the
moment
same
where-
time, it was one of those moments where I was really able to like find who I was as a person and kind of figure it out. I mean, obviously I'm still figuring it out, but
Right.
to just have that time where everyone was kind of experiencing the same thing, it's been, I don't, you
That
know,
was a freaking time.
that's the first time where everyone in a long time had to experience the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Across the board,
Across the board. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting time. But, yeah, Kobe Bryant for me. We'll leave it with you, and then we'll close out.
Well, I didn't anticipate having to answer this question.
Well, that's how it works.
I really like the Jesus aspect, especially where I am in my life. How do I say this? Obviously, especially we've had these conversations where at times there's been a lack of like belief and just like, yeah, I would love to just like, was this stuff real? You know,
Right.
did all of these things really happen?
He's like, I didn't walk on water. That was mirage. It's hot.
Mirage, right? We was in the desert.
Yo, can you imagine? Yo, that would be crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, half
So
the
just
stuff
to be
we
able
like-
to, he's like, no, I don't know how they got this twisted.
I don't know.
And you know he's black, so it's gonna be a different type of lingo going on.
He's like, water and wine, bro. That's Kool-Aid.
Yeah, but I definitely think that would be a really dope conversation. I like you said, I have so many questions.
That's a good one. It is a good
So
one.
many. But secondly, I would honestly probably have to say it's between. Damn.
I feel like we all pick dead people. You don't want to talk to no
because
one alive?
Everybody else is still a possibility for us.
I was thinking the
That's
same
fair.
thing when you said that. Everybody else is still potential to.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Man. I'm going to go with my gut instinct, and I'm going to say Michael Jackson. I was always a super fanatic fan, like since little.
Likewise, yeah.
Michael Jackson is just that guy. I still watch his videos like every
Yeah, no.
I can't, like, if I ever see a Michael Jackson video, I can't skip it.
You can't.
Like,
It's just
I
impossible.
just had to watch it. Yeah.
But for several different reasons, since a kid, I always had a dream of meeting him and just dancing with him. You know, him showing me whatever. Pause.
No, I don't mean that. I just
No, I'm saying.
No, I'm laughing at him because he's thinking about how terrible you dance.
No, it's not even terrible. It's just what you call it.
He says you dance terrible. But no, that would be
They
amazing.
do this all the time. They walk past.
Hey.
I usually get the haze. I would also want to ask him a very specific question.
What's that question?
Are the rumors true? You know the rumors.
The rumors.
He's like, I ain't testing kids. You know.
Yeah, but I like, you know.
He'd be like, "Why would you ask
Did
me?"
y'all see that picture floating around?
And I would like let him know, like, yo, I don't know. I have some experience
questions you could
myself, and some of your red flags are red flags. Your actions are red flags.
The whole point, we got to get rid of this red flag mentality.
Why?
There's a
Yeah.
whole color between green and red. There's a whole bunch of yellow flags that was going off in people's lives about a whole bunch of stuff, and they skipping the yellow flags. Don't even get to a red
Yeah,
flag.
but
there have been
I
yellow
like that.
flags that's been out there like this.
I agree with you, but
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, yeah.
Nah, but I like that though.
But there
yeah,
do be some
I
yellow
do
flags.
too. But
Bookmark that.
you know, a yellow flag to me is the same thing as a yellow light. You know,
Yeah.
we're supposed to stop,
Yeah, it's worth
like that,
considering.
but oftentimes we
It's-
speed
yeah.
up.
No, yellow's a warning.
But red is
Listen,
like
depending on how close or how far.
no, yellow
you gotta
is it's
consider what
warning.
you
You're,
doing.
you're supposed to slow down. And
definitely
Most of the
stop,
time, yellow to
But
me
like-
means speed up.
So that's what I'm saying.
it
So
depends on how good
yellow's
my brakes
one thing,
are.
right? But like red is like we know we supposed to stop.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, there's some questionables with Michael that I would have to ask.
You're gonna end this before I just gotta follow up on that. What is obviously the kids thing, but what is it all in regards to that? Like, what are the flags that you've seen and Michael Jackson?
Or the kids?
I was gonna say,
The parents. I'm sorry. We can go a whole bunch of lists.
I'm gonna be very.
Jesus juice.
Oh yeah, there was that
you
thing.
say?
The Jesus juice.
Sleeping in the bed.
No, sleeping in the. That's what I'm saying. So kids, like specifically kids. Again, because of my personal experience,
Right.
like any grown ass man that is hanging with kids before grown ass adults, that's a red flag for me. And again, I might be biased or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't give a damn.
But
It's a red flag.
that's a red flag, right? But
Unless you are like a youth worker.
yeah, but even
I don't
still,
even
those
still
are the
go
same.
sleep on the couch.
Did y'all watch?
no, I'm
Speaking of,
talking about you
but,
said-
but
he said
did y'all
hungry.
watch the Boy Scout documentary?
oh, yep.
No.
That was tough to
Yeah,
watch.
watch it, Netflix.
That's a tough watch.
Like, if y'all can tonight, like, watch that documentary.
Is it them telling their story or they?
Nah, that
All the
is-
sexual assaults that were happening to these
and that
little
was
kids.
hidden from government officials and stuff like that, because Boy Scouts was, what is that word I'm looking for? Sponsor.
right now in BPS. So there was a
Oh yeah,
thing that dropped.
don't even get me started.
I was like,
I'm not even hit, but don't get me started on BPS because anyhow, though, man.
Yeah,
So again, you hanging around nothing but young kids, right? Yeah. But then you're spending nights and night days on end with these kids, like.
and the parents like,
yeah, it's just.
anyway.
No, because the parents are just like, oh my God, it's Michael Jackson. I don't even care if I pay.
No. They
That
got
part
paid.
too, right?
Presumably.
Yeah, presumably, yeah.
That and the surgeries. But all right, let's.
That's unfortunate.
That
All right.
research.
But we're going to end it with, give us what you got going on. So obviously, we won't count the last 10 days of this year.
Oh God.
What's
So
the new year looking like
look
for you?
out for
I got more, but
Museum of
another
Science
more.
doing something there. We will be potentially going to, by this time, we may or may not be on, but in the process, we're going back to radio, to a notable radio station with call letters, not just internet. A
Okay, I
notable
was
radio
about to say
station
the
with call
online or
letters.
what?
Hopefully, the model that I proposed was like a weekly sort of model, but then I'm backing up. I'm like, that means I won't, because they're looking at Saturday, and I'm like, wait. And that would be like in studio, so I would have to like, and then in the morning. So I'm like, wait a minute, what am I set myself up for? We will continue, I believe, with GBH, going, doing the show there at the library once a month, Museum of Science. I'm trying to go over the notes we did in the meeting on Tuesday. Anything major that's coming up. The anniversary is going to be in March. That's it for like first quarter.
Didn't you say you were meeting with the governor soon?
I'm meeting with the governor. That will have, by the time this airs, it will have happened. But the go to my page and look up the interview with the governor. We're sitting. We'll be sitting with her around her ceremony room. She either commissioned to Black artists or have portraits of Black people in her ceremony room. So we're going to sit with her tomorrow to look at that and converse around some other stuff. It was like, Jimmy, anything else you want to discuss? I was like,
I bet you.
things. No, more is she's really cool. Last time I saw her, she was on the show, but physically, I was going back and forth with the admin about getting her on, and she was like, "Yo, Jimmy, Jimmy, what's up? When am I coming back?" I was like, and I kind of took the blame for it, but I was like, I've been, but I get it. She's the governor, whatever. So, but that's it. Continue with Boston Waterfront Coalition. And the Davis system, of course, and things like that. So other stuff is coming in 24.
Dope. Busy man, you had one question, I think. Before.
Am I okay?
Nah.
Okay.
No
All
question.
right, save that one for later.
He said no. I gotta go.
No, okay.
All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on another episode of Nun the Wizer. Please thank our special guest, Jimmy Hills of Java with Jimmy. Give that man a round of applause. Appreciate you for being here with us. All right, show love to my brothers. We got Trip in the building, Podcast Poe, and your gracious host, Walt. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Give us any feedback.
At Java with Jimmy.
At Java with Jimmy. That's his handle. At Java with Jimmy.
You'll see it inside the video.
JavaWithJimmy.com for the website. And that's it. Peace.
Nun the Wizer.